Pregnancy is the most beautiful thing in a woman's world. However, childbirth can turn a level-headed woman into being very nervous. Contractions can actually give you nightmares as to how you're going to end up in the delivery room screaming in pain, or even have a childbirth in the car. Today we're going to find out if there is a way to keep you more calm and sane during the last part of pregnancy. So don't go anywhere.
We started as a group of engineers who were at NASA.
And we saw there was a potential to do something beyond what the market had available today.
We thought this is just a fantastic area where we could apply this philosophy into.
We want to give information and awareness to people, to governments.
If you have given chance that you can do something, I think you cannot stop yourself.
Take any idea that you have to the next level.
Eric, for someone who's non-married, no kids, you founded a company that monitors contractions. How did this come about?
So the origin of the company came when my co-founder Julian and I were previously working at a Belgian-based R&D organization called IMEC. We had been developing advanced wearable devices for both consumer and medical markets for a number of years, and we saw a larger opportunity for leveraging these kind of technologies to answer question concerns that people had about their health, and at the same time to use this data to inform large unanswered medical questions. And around the same time, Julian's wife got pregnant with their first child, and we saw that no one kind of has more questions and concerns than expecting mom. And on the healthcare side, we thought this is just a fantastic area where we could apply this sort of philosophy into.
Well, it must have been quite a feeling to start a company from nowhere, unknown, almost invented this. Tell me a little bit about your background. What got you to this point that you decided to be an entrepreneur?
Sure. So both my parents work in healthcare, so I've always had a passion for healthcare and biomedical engineering. I studied bioengineering at Cornell. Ended up moving to UCLA to do a PhD in biomedical engineering. After I finished in 2008, when the world was kind of collapsing with the financial crisis, I ended up getting a bit of a lifeline to go work at IMEC, which I mentioned is a Belgian-based R&D organization that does advanced contract research for some of the biggest companies in the world, such as Intel, Samsung, Philips. And so while there, I ended up switching into a business development role. Starting to work very closely with Julian, and we hit it off. And I just saw that there was so much opportunity within healthcare for new innovation, and so much is changing right now that it just seemed like an obvious area for us to go and apply some of the technology we developed at IMEC into our own company.
And the best part is, even before you discovered or invented the product, you actually knew half the world is your market.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. We've had both sides. I mean, a lot of investors feel that women's health in general is a niche market. And if you're going to go within women's health, then pregnancy is even a smaller market. But the fact is that everyone has a mom, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we all come from somewhere, and
multiple times.
Oftentimes multiple times, exactly. And it's an ever-renewing market. It's evergreen, if you could say. There's always going to be more babies in the world. And so we just got excited about the opportunity to answer question concerns for people that had a natural inclination for finding more information. That desire for a mom to do whatever she can to have a healthy baby is genetic almost, right? It's biologically encoded in us. Right. And I think there's a lot of things you could use because that's there to really just design amazing products.
Yeah, everything else in the world can change, but moms having babies will never change.
That's never going to change.
Till such time this world exists.
That's right.
Now, how does this product work?
So what the device can do is it measures various health parameters of the mom and the baby throughout her pregnancy. You've mentioned contractions, but the device can measure much more than that, including movement of the baby, so kick counts, fetal heart rate, as well as various aspects of maternal health.
So it can be worn from the time you get pregnant?
From conception to birth. That's the idea.
Oh,
right now it's focused around the third trimester, but through software updates, algorithm updates, we could measure many different things. And so technically speaking, what we do is we measure biopotential, so electrical activity of the body, as well as motion. And since the mom's heart's a muscle, the baby's heart's a muscle, the uterus is a muscle, they each produce a unique electrical signal, and we can measure that completely non-invasively through a little patch that's worn on the belly, and then with signal processing, we filter what's coming from the mom and what's coming from the baby.
But every mom is very conscious of what they put in their body and what can be tracked,
Absolutely.
Right? So how have you worked on that? How have you solved that?
So the device is completely passive. So all we do is listen to the body's natural bioelectric signals. We don't inject any energy into the body. Ultrasound, as you may be aware of, is actually injecting energy and sound energy and measuring the reflection. You can never use that continuously. That's too dangerous for the baby. Ours is completely non-invasive and passive. So actually, it's much safer than existing technology that's out there.
Okay, and what happens to the baby when you put the patch? Does it figure out there is somebody that is watching?
We don't have any answer to that. I don't know. Maybe that's Gen 2. We don't know what the baby's thinking. But I'm assuming that because we're not injecting any energy in, the baby probably doesn't know what's going on. The baby's just in there doing what the baby does.
Okay, so you haven't noticed any change in the movement of the baby once you have that patch?
No, I mean it's like no, the baby wouldn't even know it's there.
Okay.
No.
Now, is this the first product like that, or has there been a trial before it didn't work out?
This is really one of the first products like this. There have been some existing technologies in the medical space, really nothing that's been accessible to moms. And I think that's a larger trend that's happening in healthcare, is that more technology is coming out that is going direct to consumers to answer their questions. Mobile health, of course, is a huge trend. Digital health is a big trend. I think this is just an area that has not seen a lot of innovation, more broadly speaking. And I think we're the first one to put technology to, again, directly in the hands of the mom that is similar to what they would feasibly be able to get in the hospital.
Well, do you worry about competition? Like somebody will come up soon with a product looking like yours and we will better it?
No, competition's good. It means that we're onto something. If there's no competition, then we're probably off on a deserted island somewhere. So we know there's other people working in the space. I feel very confident that we have the best team out there to build these kind of technologies. It's not easy. This is very complex devices we're making. And I think we have a clear strategy, and I think we're backed by great investors and partners that are going to help us, win the market.
Did you have a challenge along the way that you wish was not there?
I don't know if I can say I wish there was a challenge that wasn't there, because I think each one of the challenges we face has forced us to get better at whatever we couldn't overcome. And I know it took us a while for me really, to figure out, how do I package the story together? How do I communicate what we're doing so other people see what I see and what we see here, why we've all left our jobs? And I think that's maybe one of the hardest challenges of an entrepreneur, is that you just see things a little bit differently than everyone else, and it's not always easy to get other people to see the same vision you have. And it's about communication. It's about storytelling. It's about making an emotional connection. And that was something that I really have been working on and still have a lot of work to do. But that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, as we started, that slowly we're overcoming.
So Julian, it all started because your wife was expecting and having contractions, and you figured there has to be something that will monitor this, right?
That's right.
How did it start?
Well, as you say, so we were working at a research center called AMEC, developing next generation wearable technologies to track different type of parameters, health parameters. And we saw there was a potential to do something beyond what the market had available today, beyond Fitbit, beyond activity tracker, something that really means something to people, consumers, users, but also the medical people, doctors. So we wanted to take the next stage in what wearable technologies could do. We knew we had the technical knowledge to do it, and we were looking for an application, a space where we could deliver high-tech wearable technologies that would serve a consumer need, but also serve a medical need.
You mentioned that you talked to doctors. What were their reactions?
So initially, I think they got very intrigued by all this amount of data that we could collect. So I remember before the company was even born, we did some early recording. Friends who are doctors, you go, you hook it up to I shouldn't say that in front of the camera, but we hook it up to pregnant moms, and they say, hey, this is what we can measure. And they got very excited. Right? I think a lot of doctors have this experimental mind, right? They like to try things. And so, yes, so seeing this early data, seeing what could be measured. I remember one day we had very early, it was October 2013, we could see a fatal ECG, a fatal heart rate on a trace that we recorded. It was one of the very first prototype we had. That got the doctors super excited. So they really liked it. They saw the potential. So of course they experience the need, right? In their day-to-day practice, right? They have to navigate blindly in terms of like diagnostics and provided feedback to the mom. She has a lot of questions, and he's got very little data. So how does he handle that? So he sees I think the potential for his day-to-day practice, and also what all that data could mean in terms of clinical research. So they got very excited in the concept early on.
How are you making it accessible by everyone else? What are you doing to scale it up to that level that it's an international product?
Yeah. So I think you're right. So pregnancy is the same everywhere in the world, and so I think that's a great thing about what we do. I think about scaling is also about being realistic. So I think we're starting in North America. Just for it's the biggest single market, right? It's 4 million births here in North America. It's the same language, same regulation, so it's more accessible for a startup to start with one market, right? But eventually, I mean, we already are thinking of scaling up internationally, and we are running clinical studies, for example, in Europe today. So it's not only limited here. The early access program and our launch will be here in the US. But we're already like engaging with partners in Europe on the clinical trial side. We're having discussions with actors in Asia as well. So we are slowly preparing the international aspects, but again, it's one step at a time. We're a small startup. We are only 15 people. You gotta get things right, and then let's first get to North America and have a successful launch here. Make sure people love Bloomlife and what we do, that we really answer their needs. And then once we successfully embrace North America, we can go international and probably start in Europe and then Asia.
So you're here in San Francisco in the West Portal area, which is like residential, and this is beautiful cottage that is your startup company office. How does that work, working in this environment?
Well, this is great. First, West Portal is the next startup scene. We know it, but don't tell it to anyone. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Keep that between you and I.
You don't want the prices to go up.
That's right. It's still the best kept secret in San Francisco. So no, I mean, this place has been great. I mean, we started here. Eric found that place before I even moved here. So it was like we started working here from the very beginning. I think most of the people on the team have stayed at this place. It's kind of one of the condition to join the Bloomlife team.
Okay, you have to
you
love
to
this
sleep
place.
here for you gotta belong to this space. So when I moved here, it was like, so I moved here in May 2014. I stayed here for a month, and then we've had people staying in this house since then. So it's just rotating. Everybody's it's very convenient to have a room for people to stay when they come over. But besides this, it's just the atmosphere of the house is great. It's been good, I think, for everything from team spirit perspective, from comfort of work, flexibility of work. It's been fun. Well,
as we come down in years, the street will be called Bloomlife Street.
That is very.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. That was great.
Well, how cool is that? We have a mommy-to-be who's 2 weeks away from delivering a baby. So tell me, if you had to put a product like Bloomlife on your tummy to monitor contractions, what would you worry about the most?
I wouldn't necessarily say worry, but I would just want to make sure that it was accurate, that the information I was getting from it was actually what was going on.
Well, let's see you put that on, and let's see how easy or tough that is.
Sounds good. I'm going to measure 3 fingers below my belly button here and hold it by the sensor with the blue dot facing up. And just apply it like that.
What would you like to know about the baby while you put that sensor on?
For me, the best use of this is to, as a first-time mom especially, to have that gray area of, am I really in labor? Do I need to go to the hospital right now? Because here you can wait, 5 hours in triage. Sometimes it would be really good to avoid that. So that would be the best.
Well, no matter how many classes you take, you still don't know whether you're in labor or not. And this is something that is helping you understand that, this is time to go, time to stay.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. And do you feel any discomfort that it is on you? So
No.
it's pretty much this invisible and non-feelable person that is
non-invasive at all.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Well, that's awesome. So when you go into contraction really and you really see that beeping, do you tell the doctor that something is telling you that it's beeping at the right time?
I would look for a trend. So when I go into the doctor, I would show them, this is what I've been experiencing at home. What do you think? I wouldn't go in just for one, but I think the value of this is seeing a trend over time and being able to show a practitioner.
So it's worry-free, and you're not worried about the product which is on you if it's affecting the baby, because it's already proven to be harmless. But it takes the worry out of you that, when you have to be in the hospital, right? Well, good luck to you. I'm happy that you're going to have a baby in 2 weeks. So Molly, you actually used the product. Were you really having contractions when you used it?
Yeah. I actually used it starting in my second trimester all the way through my third, when we were kind of in different beta versions. And I used it actually when I went into labor. I was wearing it the night that I went into labor. I went to bed with it on, and I woke up feeling contractions and realized that, my contractions had kind of taken on a pattern to indicate labor. So I got to use it quite a bit during my pregnancy with my daughter.
So wait, you said second trimester you started using it.
Yeah.
What were you expecting at that time? What were you expecting to read at that time?
Yeah, I mean, Braxton Hicks contractions, sort of the early non-labor inducing contractions, can happen, throughout pregnancy. They kind of start more so in the second, and then of course ramp up in the third. But even just kind of having something that helps you understand what's going on in your body. I know for me, this was my second pregnancy, and with my first pregnancy, I didn't think I had any Braxton Hicks contractions. I never felt them. I just didn't really know what they would feel like. And then with this, having this for my second pregnancy, I started realizing that, during pregnancy you have a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions, and it's totally normal. And it kind of identifying that, oh, I'm feeling this. This is what it looks like in the app, and having that sort of immediate feedback to understand actually what that sensation is that you're feeling. It's kind of a good learning tool to kind of understand really what's going on during pregnancy.
Well, let's understand this. You have to put it on your tummy, and it's reading the movement inside, and you have to have the app open all the time, or it gives you any signal that something is happening, so then the app pops up, or what happens?
Well, actually, the sensor itself is always picking up the information from the body. So what it's doing is it's picking up sort of the muscle activity of the uterus and decoding that into what you see in the app. And so since the sensor is always working to pick up, you can have the app open if you want to really see it in real time, feel it, see it there. But it doesn't need to be open to do a recording. You can kind of have it on to do a recording, and then once it sort of wakes up and connects with the app, you can really see the whole session that you've been, for the time you've been wearing it.
So is there any kind of an alert setting that, it beeps when you're really having a contraction and you didn't feel it?
There isn't an alert now. We kind of like the idea of it being kind of behind the scenes, quiet listener, so that when you want to check in, you have that ability to peek in and look. If you want to be really active with it, you can be having it sort of open and watching to kind of confirm that feeling. But, if you do feel something and you open the app, chances are you're still going to catch that contraction. And if you really want to use it as a learning tool, you can kind of keep an eye on it and try to see how that corresponds to what you're feeling. But there's no little button that shows up that says you're having a contraction.
Okay. Well, you're communicating with moms and the community. So what has been your findings so far with the product?
Yeah, the feedback has been really cool to see. People are really enjoying it. We kind of have this spectrum of moms who are using it really as similar to me, where they really want that understanding of what sensations are in their body. We have moms who use it because they've experienced early contractions in their pregnancy, and they want an objective second opinion in a way to really kind of capture, this is what is going on in my body. This is a better way to track it. Well,
we keep hearing doctors say, hey, you have to be calm. That's the most important thing when you're pregnant or delivering, right?
Yeah.
Does this make you a little overexcited? You come to know about the contractions. Does it have any effect effect on your mind that, you know, it suddenly makes you more perky, that you're having contractions?
I think there's a lot of, I think it's actually on the contrary. I think there's a lot of power in really understanding your body and feeling more comfortable in what the signals are in your body. We've heard a lot of moms say that this gives them peace of mind. And it's really, you know, having something to confirm, to validate what they're feeling that isn't just them, you know, worrying, oh, is this a contraction? Is this gas? Is this the baby moving? You know, they actually have a tool that says, yeah, this is a contraction, and you know, this is what it looks like, this is what the pattern is, and so they can really get a better feel for, you know, is this something that I need to be kind of paying closer attention to, or is this something that's just totally normal for my pregnancy? It's a very personalized tool, you know, to kind of communicate and help them translate what's going on in their body.
Do you have a little story for us? Someone who used it and came and thanked you, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, we heard a story the other day from a mom who was with her sister at the time, and she started feeling contractions, and so they started timing them, and they said, oh, well, we have Bloomlife, so just put it on. And you know, it turned out she was having some back labor, which means the contractions are felt in the back instead of in the front, and they're really hard to time because you don't really know when they start, you don't really know when they end. And because she put Bloomlife sensor on, it took that all out of the picture. It did it for her, and so she didn't have to worry about, you know, getting the timing right.
How accurate is this?
Yeah, so it's been tested against what's used in the hospitals, and so we've had multiple clinical tests around how does Bloomlife compare to the Toco, and it matches up really well in accuracy.
And it obviously stores everything in the app that you can go back in history.
Yeah. So it has a history feature. So every session that's recorded, you go into into the history view, and you can see all of the stats for each recording session that you've done. You can see the actual graph for each recording session that's done, and you can really get a feel for how your pattern is changing. So you can really see that shift in my own data, which, you know, as a scientist, I find very cool. So.
And that's the first history of the baby's first movement when it's coming out. So now we don't have to have baby recorded from the time of birth. We can actually have it from behind, and that's awesome.